from r/nuclear revenge, posted by U. Sabrin. A family's incompetence nearly killed me. Neighbors go nuclear. A few years ago, at the age of 22, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, which came out of the blue. In my appointments with the epilepsy nurse and my neurologist, I was informed by way of informing those who were looking for a cause for my epilepsy that I had suffered from measles when I was around 13 months old and was not yet fully vaccinated against it. Upon returning home, I spoke with my sister and remarked that I had never heard of this before. In private, my sister decided that it was me who was involved. I had the right to know what she knew of the story. However, when she was 8 years old at the time and was unsure of the time extent that had transpired, the story that she had told me was as follows. Shortly after I was born, a family moved into our street and they had a son who was around my sister's age. My sister wasn't fond of him. He was a bit pushy, but not in an unkind way. He likely just wanted to make friends and pushed his way into playing with the other kids. My sister, however, has an anxiety disorder and has had it for a long time, and she didn't really appreciate his behavior, finding him quite intimidating. She knew very little about his parents and has never actually spoken to them. About a year later, I came down with the measles and was rushed to the hospital with severe complications. My sister explained that, as far as she was aware, the family was opposed to vaccinations and believed that the only way to build a natural immunity was to be infected with the virus. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Oh boy, that's not good. This was before the falsified study linking vaccines to autism. As such, when their unvaccinated son contracted the measles, the first thing that they thought of was to do the other families on the street a favor and send their infected son out to play with the other children without warning anybody. Oh my god. My sister inadvertently brought the virus into the house and we were both infected. She shrugged it off, but I wasn't so lucky. 20 years later, I would find out that this virus and the seizures that it caused at the time caused scarring in my brain that has left me with epilepsy and all the joys of come with it. Lovely stuff. I returned from the hospital after an anticlimactic recovery, and a month later, the family disappeared. Until recently, that was all that I knew of the situation. My parents were understandably traumatized, I would be, by the whole thing, and they didn't like to talk about it, so I dropped it into conversation with my elderly neighbor who was not in any way affiliated with what happened at the time. I was informed that while I was in the hospital, my grandmother, who has passed away, had confronted the family over what they had done during a time when it was still possible that I might have died. Their response had my grandmother livid, and she had gone around telling everyone what they had said, which was essentially something to the effect of, you should be thanking us. She'll be much safer now that she's had it. She'll have a more natural immunity now. To my neighbors acknowledged, nobody liked that, and for good reason. On top of that, parents didn't feel safe with them around, and there was other infants on the street who were my age or younger. People hurled abuse at them, he recalled, and they ended up leaving to stay with relatives before the house could even be sold. It was only recently that the extent of the abuse was relayed to me by another neighbor who may or may not have taken part in it at all. Their tires were slashed multiple times almost as soon as they were replaced. Ooh, that would suck. Their car was keyed when people weren't hurling abuse at them in the street, the worst of all being my grandmother, who had a razor-sharp wit, always being able to come up with something new and unique. They wrote handwritten letters calling them every obscene name under the sun and reminding them that they could be responsible for my death, posting them through their mailbox and sticking them to their windows and doors. The resident baseball boy, with the blessing of everybody present, tore their letterbox off their wall and smashed it in with a baseball bat. One of the residents on the street had a pair of cats. When they brought any little presents home, they would scoop up the unfortunate prey with a shovel and leave them in their doorstep. It evolved into including the waste of the cats too, and another neighbor who had a dog decided to do the same with his dog's droppings. This would be done primarily when they were out of the house, and this was being done in the heat of summer. Oh god. So you can only imagine the smell and the cloud of flies that would be wafting around their porch when they returned home hours later. The owner of the dog even went as far as to smear the droppings all over their door handle, as much of their front door as they could, though people found this just a wee bit disgusting, so he stopped. While the abuse and letters kept up, people very quickly stopped leaving droppings and such on their porch, or sticking letters in their windows, because unfortunately their young lad, who was about 7 to 8, got caught in the crossfire. Some of the older children caught on to the fact that their parents didn't like his family and began to bully him without really even knowing why his family was hated so much. And this ended up reaching him at school. To their credit, they realized that they likely didn't understand what was going on and it wasn't his fault. So they dialed it back a bit and kept the abuse to where only the parents could see. This family was so distressed and they took their son and ran to the siblings of the ones. This family was so distressed that they took their son and ran to this sibling of one of the parents after the sibling of the other told them quite frankly that they didn't want their unvaccinated son around their children. The house was sold in their absence. I wondered aloud about why the police weren't called because some of the perpetrators were very obvious, at which point I was informed that these people had an inherent distrust for any and all authority figures and held the belief that the system was against them. They were being oppressed and that the police would sweep it all under the rug, so they just left instead of exposing their son to the biased police, which is really baffling to me because in my country is a majority and they'd be more likely to receive support. So the moral of the story is to vaccinate your children, folks. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's nuclear revenge if I've ever read it. Like, Jesus. Wow. I'm gonna see what people have commented. To add to this, the fact that the neighborhood ruined their lives may have to do with how woefully idiotic these people are. Wouldn't be surprised if these people eventually had CPS called upon them after allegations of abuse. Karen's be like, fake. Okay, I feel like I can probably relate to this one. Alright, I'm on Am I the Asshole subreddit. This was posted by Casual Friday. Am I the asshole for being mad that my friend lied about what was in his egg roll? I don't eat meat and haven't for 5 or 6 years. It's not for religious reasons, but it's still something I feel extremely strong about. I don't make exceptions for it ever, regardless of how drunk I get or how hungry I am, etc. At the same time, I do not judge anyone who does choose to eat meat around me, nor do I dictate what type of restaurant/bar my friends want to go to when we are out together. Vegetarian options are super widely available, so it's always a non-issue. God, I can't fucking English. Vegetarian options. Vegetarian options are super widely available and it's always a non-issue. That being said, I respect other people's choices for what they want to eat and I expect the same in return. I was out drinking with my close friend and one of them, we'll call him Ryan, offered me a leftover egg roll from his meal. I asked him if there was any meat in it and he said no. I take a bite of it and again clarified with him, asking if he was sure. Ryan was well aware that I didn't eat meat. Again, he told me no. Immediately after I finished the egg roll, Ryan gets this sick smirk on his face and tells me the egg roll had pork in it. Like he thought it was funny. I asked him why the fuck he would lie about it, something like that, knowing I'm a vegetarian, and he told me to chill out. We proceeded to get into a huge argument where he refused to apologize and kept insisting it wasn't a big deal. He was laughing about it and said I was overreacting about the whole thing. I told Ryan and our mutual friends that I didn't want to be his friend anymore. I haven't spoken to him in over a month. Our mutual friend thinks I'm overreacting and that we should just move on, but Ryan still hasn't even really apologized and instead keeps downplaying what he did. I have never made my dietary choices anyone else's business. I'm not knowing about it. I don't judge my friends for what they choose to eat. At the bare fucking minimum, I would appreciate if they didn't trick me into eating pork knowing damn well I'm a vegetarian. I can easily move on if it was a simple mistake. Mistakes happen. It's just the fact that he did it seemingly so maliciously and it really makes me have no interest in mending the friendship. I think what I'm so upset about is the blatant disrespect for what my clear boundaries are. Do you guys think I'm the asshole for staying pissed about this? Update. Well, thank you for all your comments. Many of you have been able to word my frustrations much better than I have been able to. Also, here's some clarifications for question I keep getting. Why are your friends not pressuring Ryan to apologize? They originally were. Ryan is just a stubborn and difficult dude in general and has been doubling down for the past month that he did nothing wrong, so I think that they see the only ways the group can get past this is for me to forgive rather than Ryan apologize. We only have 1 semester of college left and they want us to make up when we go back to school for spring semester. At this point, the only way that would happen is me moving on without an apology. I am a pretty forgiving person. Before reading this, that I really was doubling myself and thinking about maybe I was being dramatic over this, but you guys are right. What he did was fucked up. Has Ryan apologized? This is what his justification, more or less, for the last month has been. He keeps coming back to the fact that I'm not a vegetarian for religious reasons. He thinks that makes my food restrictions less valid. He also thinks that because I do not end up getting sick immediately afterwards, which is a big part of our original argument in the restaurant, it makes the joke more harmless. We have been good friends for years and joke about with each other all the time. How is he supposed to know where the line is drawn. I'm more upset on principle, which is what he can't see. All he keeps coming back to is that I'm mad about the egg roll, which I feel like it is a gross oversimplification of what actually happened. So I can totally relate to this Redditor. I do agree that Ryan was being a butthole. I myself am a vegetarian. I mean, technically, I'm not a full vegetarian because I do eat eggs and I eat fish, but the fish thing is more because I literally work with raw fish for my job. But anyways, so I totally get this. I would be pissed at somebody if they intentionally gave me something that had meat in it and told me it didn't, and I ate it, and then they're just like, oh, haha, well, it had meat. I'd be like, dude, what the hell? Because I personally, I am like this Redditor. I do not push it on people. I never have and never will. It's my personal choice, and if you want to eat meat, that's fine. That's fine. I don't care. I'll even buy you meat. I just, won't eat it myself. But if you cross that line of trust and trick me into doing something that I don't want to do, I feel like that's a compromise of trust, and I'm not going to want to trust you after that. So this Redditor said, it's not the fact that it's not over the egg roll, it's over the breach of trust rather than just eating the egg roll. So yeah, I totally agree that Ryan was being the butthole in this situation. All right, here's another one from Am I the Asshole? This is posted by Psych Dionysus. Am I the asshole for totally ignoring a kid and his dad so I could walk alone in peace with my dog? Just a preface, winter always gets me down. Seasonal affective disorder. So I'm outside walking my dog in the park like I always do every day, and the park is packed with families and kids. That's cool. A lot of snowfall, kids are sledding and making snowmen. I just walk my dog in the isolated parts of the park anyways. But then comes this kid, 9 or 10 years old, and I can see her coming from about 300 meters away. She's walking towards me and my dog, so I walk to the opposite direction and sort of make it look inconspicuous so I didn't hurt her feelings. My dog is super friendly, I know this. His breed is the quintessential friendly family dog, but sometimes I just want to be left alone. Plus, I'm gonna have to groom him when I get back home. He always forms these ice chunks in his paws, and I, aforementioned above, just don't feel friendly or cheerful during the winter season. No patience today. So the kid sees me walking away, gets frustrated, and I guess whines to her dad about it. I continue with my walk around the park, and out of nowhere, I see in my peripheral vision the little kid again with her dad. They're walking toward me again, so I walk away. They're starting to follow me around the park, so I quicken my pace, trying to give the dad a clue that I didn't want to talk to any kids today. But nope. They're starting to follow me around the park, so I quicken my pace, trying to give the dad a clue that I did not want to talk to any kids today. But nope. He comes storming through and walks right next to me, taps me on the shoulder, but again, I ignore it. He taps me on my shoulder again. I guess he's saying something, but I have my earphones in, so I ignore it and keep walking. I don't know, man. Am I the asshole for just walking away and ignoring this dad and his daughter in public? A bunch of people saw the interaction, why should I break my routine with my dog just so your precious little princess of a daughter can view my dog like some circus, forcibly making me answering all these kitty questions I don't have the patience to answer today. Edit. I used the wrong pronoun in the title. Should be her dad. Yeah, I mean you're a little bit of a butthole in this, I guess, but I can totally get not wanting to talk to people. I don't personally own a dog, but if I did, I'd probably, after a while would get annoyed about people and be like, oh, can I pet your dog? Your dog's so cute. Oh my gosh. But honestly, these people well, actually, no, you're not the butthole, because these people went out of their way and followed you when you were obviously trying to walk away and mind your own business, and they were up in your business, trying to tap you on the shoulder and bug you just so they could look at your dog. Obviously you don't want to be bothered, so they shouldn't have gone up to you and tried to bother you. So no, you're not the butthole in this situation, in my opinion. All right, here is another story from Am I the Asshole subreddit. Am I the asshole for being this is by Overorganized 85. Am I the asshole for being a Karen by arguing a store ID policy? I am a 41-year-old man, went grocery shopping with my daughter 14 yesterday. This was mainly to pick up food, but I also wanted to pick up some spirit and champagne for New Year's Eve. At the checkout, they asked for ID. This was odd because they have a challenge 25 policy in the UK, and I look far older than 25. As I got my license out, the checkout assistant said, "Not your ID, sir, but hers," and reference to my daughter. I was surprised and said she's 14, I'm her dad, and this is just family shopping. Still, the checkout person refused to make the sale because my daughter was underage. At this point, I asked to speak to her manager because I figured she might be new and probably erring on the side of caution. She looked very young herself, probably still in school, so I figured she didn't want to take any risks, but a manager would probably know better. However, even her supervisor reiterated that they couldn't sell me the alcohol without my daughter having proof of being over 18. I asked her how she would have proof. She's 14 and I'm her father. I also said how this has never been a problem before at the store or any other. Hell, I'd come to the same supermarket with my daughter and wife and bought beer or wine before without being asked for everyone's ID. At this point, the manager looked at my things and also said he wouldn't be able to scan the scissors as they were also an age-restricted item. Oh my god. I won't lie, this pissed me right off, so I said to the manager, your policy is insane and lack any common sense, and this store is a joke. I walked out with my daughter, and when I got home, I wrote an email to their HO because I genuinely do think that it is a silly policy. Throughout all of this, my daughter is mortified, saying I shouldn't have asked for the manager, that the girl was only doing her job. She said that it was a policy, so I was in the wrong. I disagree because I think some degree of common sense should be used in these situations. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was the asshole in this situation, only because they shouldn't refuse you to buy something just because someone like else with you is underage. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it is in the UK, but here in America, it's totally fine. Like if you go in, if you're like 14 and go with your mom, and your mom buys beer, like they're not gonna like card you. They're just carding the person that's actually buying the stuff. So I don't know. I don't think they're the asshole for this. But I like I said, I don't know everything about the policies and stuff in the UK, so I don't know. In my opinion, I don't think he was necessarily the butthole about this. All right, here is one more thing from the Am I an Asshole subreddit. This one's by LuckyString770. Am I the asshole for not wanting to write my name for my stepmom's necklace? I, 15 female, live with my dad and stepmom and my half-siblings. My parents divorced when I was young, and my dad and stepmom got married after my mom died. She was only interested in being my stepmom before that, but it was like my mom dying made her think I wanted her to be my new mom, and even though we talked about it at length after and I said I didn't want her to be my mom, she has really stopped thinking of me as her stepdaughter, and now I'm just her daughter, which would be fine if I wasn't reminded all the time that my not considering her mom hurts her feelings, or if they're oh my god. Which would be fine if I wasn't reminded all the time that my not considering my mom hurts her feelings. They weren't telling me it's unhealthy to not open my heart to having another mom. It made me feel more distant from her than anything, because there was a time where I was actively reminded once or twice a week for several months to a couple of years that it wasn't a bad thing to have two moms, etc. Even when I said I knew but I didn't want that or feel that way, it was brought up again. There were so many therapy sessions where they stayed on the issue. I think that worried them that they wanted her to adopt me, so my grandpa, dad's dad, couldn't fight for custody for me if anything were to happen to my dad. I think I would make it clear I want to go with my grandparents. Dad said I should stay with my stepmom. I said no. The issue was dropped when they realized I wasn't going to come around. So anyways, things between us aren't so great. Back when my stepmom was pregnant with my half-brother 6 years ago, she asked me to write my name so I could add my section too. I said no. She asked me again when my half-sister baby scribbled her name. This Christmas, my youngest half-brother was able to baby scribble his name, and I was asked again, and I said no again. She already has me included. I'm not comfortable doing it. I don't even like that I'm on it, but that's for her. But I'm not going to start claiming her as my mom by signing her necklace. She cried, and I told her I should do this one thing for her. Then my dad told me that if I didn't want to do it because I didn't want her as my mom, I should reconsider, because one day she'll be my future kid's grandma and they'll ask why I didn't sign it. I told him if I have kids, they will know the family setup and that she's not my mom, even if she will be their grandma. Am I the asshole? No, I don't think you're the asshole. This is the problem. Like, I grew up with divorced parents, so I totally understand this. And I have a problem when, like, a new like person comes into the mix, and then you have this like mixed family. I always have a problem with like whoever the step parent is trying to basically force the stepchild into being like, oh, I'm your parent now, or something like that. I've always had an issue with that. You shouldn't have to like force, like you shouldn't force a child into like calling you their parent, because you're not their parent. And honestly, like something I've learned is you choose your family, and if you don't choose that, like if you don't think, like if you don't feel like that they're your parent, then that's totally valid. You shouldn't be forced to like say that they're your parent when they're not. If you don't feel like they're your parent, then they're not your parent. So I just honestly have like a huge issue with like step parents trying to force their stepchildren into saying that, hey, I'm your parent now, blah blah blah. And I especially find it kind of insensitive that her mom died and her stepmom's now basically trying to like force her to be like, oh yeah, I'm your mom now. And it's like, no. Like, you're not her mom if she doesn't consider you her mom. So yeah, I'd have to say her mom was kind of a butthole trying to force OP to like sign the necklace when she didn't want to, and she shouldn't have to. So yeah, no, OP wasn't the butthole. Her stepmom was kind of being a butthole. But anyways, this ends this video, and I hope you enjoyed. If you like these videos, I can make more of them. I personally really enjoy making these videos. I really like reading Reddit stories, and if there's any other subreddits that you want to suggest in the comments, let me know. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Goodbye.